Border Patrol is tracking and tracing American drivers all across the country, according to an investigation by the Associated Press. This information comes from interviews with 8 former government officials with direct knowledge of the program, as well as government documents, state grant and law enforcement data, as well as arrest reports. Border Patrol has concealed the details of this program for years, going to great lengths to keep it out of court documents and police reports. They've even offered to drop charges in order to not reveal any details of the program. Their driver tracking program uses ALPR technology, which stands for Automatic License Plate Reader. The Border Patrol is looking for people that are connected to drug or human trafficking. The criteria for which drivers are suspicious is determined by the Border Patrol and includes everything from driving on backcountry roads, being in a rental car, or making short trips to the border. This could be a dragnet for criminals. It is also criteria that would sweep up the average American on vacation or someone who lives in a rural area. Their network of cameras extends along both the northern and southern borders. This is alarming enough to those who care about civil liberties and the dangers of a massive surveillance state. Border Patrol says this technology is, quote, governed by a stringent, multi-layered policy framework, as well as a federal law and constitutional protections to ensure the technology is applied responsibly and for clearly defined security purposes. Because we all know we can trust our government to restrict themselves. But you see, it gets even worse. Traditionally, Border Patrol has limited their operational area to within 100 miles of the border. However, in response to this investigation, they noted that they are legally allowed to, quote, operate anywhere in the United States. So they don't, but they can. Okay. The Associated Press's investigation found cameras well beyond their 100-mile zone. The AP found 4 cameras in the greater Phoenix area, that's 120 miles from the border, and another one along the Michigan-Indiana border. This license plate tracking started nearly a decade ago, but like all government programs, it has greatly expanded, especially in the last 5 years. Their increase in power is largely due to its ability to collaborate. They've partnered with the Department of Homeland Security. Border Patrol is also drawing information from ALPR's nationwide that's run by the Drug Enforcement Agency. Border Patrol is also relying on local law enforcement programs that are funded through federal grants. And this is quite an effective tactic in Texas, where local law enforcement has requested that Border Patrol start using facial recognition to also identify drivers. Border Patrol falls under the umbrella of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency. President Trump is giving this agency more than $2.7 billion to expand its border surveillance system, including ALPR technology and artificial intelligence. These commercial networks are run by local police departments and numerous private companies, such as Wrecker, Vigilant Solutions, Flock Safety, LSAG, Axon, Perceptix, and Genoptic. Vigilant Solutions, a subsidiary of Motorola Solutions, has a sister company called Digital Recognition Network, which gives them access to privately collected data it obtains from repossession companies. Many of these tracking companies receive grant funding from a program called Operation Stone Garden. Flock Safety has a similar partnership with a huge amount of homeowners associations that it then shares with local law enforcement. Both Digital Recognition Network and Flock Safety provide law enforcement the opportunity to share their data across the country. In this labyrinth of government agencies and private vendors, Operation Stone Garden is the linchpin, the thing that connects local, state, and federal law enforcement all together. By dangling funds over cities, local law enforcement acquiesces to this new technology. And while it's touted as protecting us from sex traffickers and migrants flooding the border, in reality, this technology is merely a dragnet to arrest, incarcerate, and surveil Americans. As part of Operation Stone Garden, officers in Webb County, Texas, pulled over 18-year-old Roy Torres. Police found a 4.6-ounce jar of marijuana, 15 boxes of THC vape pens, and 24 white plastic wraps of THC pens, totaling around 70 grams. Torres was charged with possession of a controlled substance. That's a second-degree felony punishable by 2 to 20 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000 if convicted. This is considered an Operation Stone Garden victory. While sold as a tool to get traffickers, it's actually just helping pick up stoners. As you might imagine, warrantless tracking and tracing of Americans has many problems. It violates your civil rights, it contributes to the surveillance state, but above all else, it leads to mistakes that make innocent people pay the price for the government's paranoia. ALPR technology has been used to discriminate and profile against minorities. In New York, police officers were busted for electronically recording the license plate numbers of everyone parked near a mosque. In Birmingham, police aimed cameras at a Muslim community to monitor them. The Oakland Police Department was caught disproportionately deploying ALPR-mounted vehicles in low-income communities and communities of color. You can even go back as far as 1998 to find abuse of power. An officer in Washington, D.C. pleaded guilty to extortion after looking up the plates of vehicles parked near gay bars, information which the officer then used to blackmail its patrons with. An officer in Kansas was arrested for accessing information from Flock Safety ALPR database to stalk his estranged wife. But ALPR technology isn't just ripe for discrimination, it's also flawed technology. Cops pulled over Denise Green in San Francisco back in 2009. A city worker, she was handcuffed at gunpoint, forced to the ground while cops searched her and her car. The reason? Her vehicle was misidentified as stolen due to an ALPR reader error. A mother and her children in Colorado were forced to the ground and detained by police. Again, it was due to an ALPR system error that flagged their vehicle as stolen. Operation Stone Garden is controversial, causing some communities to even opt out of it. The Tucson Police Department notified the federal government that it was withdrawing from the Border Security Grant Program, saying that it runs counter to their mission and, quote, the expectation of the community we serve. Think the mass monitoring of your driving pattern won't be used against you? Well, in case you've missed it, the current president is out for vengeance against his enemies, perceived or real. He has launched mortgage fraud investigations against them and personally demanded the Attorney General begin criminal probes against critics. And we know how fickle he is, even with his own supporters. He scooted into office on a promise to release the Epstein files. Then, within a matter of months of taking office, he called MAGA voters who wanted those files to be released his former supporters, going as far to say, quote, I don't want their support anymore. Many people watching this might say the old adage that only those with something to hide should be scared of surveillance. But that's a false paradigm. As Edward Snowden once said, quote, ultimately, saying that you don't care about privacy because you have nothing to hide is no different from saying you don't care about freedom of speech because you have nothing to say. Now that you know where we've been, find out where we're going. Tune in to Ladies Love Politics, where you can stay informed without going insane.